Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, the latest on the response to and fallout from the coronavirus pandemic in Indiana. Governor Eric Holcomb joins us to detail the state's strategy moving forward and talk about how Hoosier businesses are stepping up to help. We'll also look at the outbreak's impact on workforce development, the Indy 500, and your personal finances. And we'll talk about how the pandemic is impacting mental health and how pets can help make the process easier. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Our coverage of the coronavirus outbreak continues this week with Governor Eric Holcomb. His stay-at-home order is still in effect, along with restrictions on restaurants and bars. Hoosier businesses are also doing their part to fight the pandemic. Holcomb joined Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick via Skype.
In terms of the latest, and certainly we saw this week, President Trump talking about the next 2 weeks going to be very, very dire. He didn't sugarcoat it at all. Do you anticipate we're facing the same reality here in the state of Indiana?
Well, we are, and that's what we've braced for. That's what we prepared for long before this episode started to really unfold and spread. That's why we regionalized our healthcare delivery practices, and our system is built that way in the first place. I'm proud of Hoosiers for the way that they've responded. By and large, Hoosiers are hunkered down. That's going to flatten that curve or slow that spread so we don't overwhelm our healthcare system and we can maintain that capacity to deliver. And then that just makes it all that more feasible that we get through this faster than maybe some who have been in denial. So the surge is coming. We're prepared for it. It's happening every day. You hear the drumbeat. You see the numbers increase, whether it's infectious rates or fatality rates, or if it's in 84 counties now as of today of our 92. So it's not slowing down. In fact, it's increasing and mounting. Fortunately, we have put measures and practices, changed our behavior, and Hoosiers are playing by the rules of the day.
So healthcare delivery is one element, certainly a critically important element. So too, dealing with the tens of thousands of Hoosiers unemployed, unprecedented numbers. As you look at the unemployment system from an infrastructure standpoint to handle it, you feel good about how that's set up?
Yeah, that's we've thrown more resources, obviously, as other states are having to do. You can go to a lot of states around the country. I talk to governors every single day on both sides of the aisle. We have never been in a situation where our workforce development, computer systems and call centers, et cetera, were built for a time like this, where the numbers, as you mentioned, are just stunningly high. We're making sure that we're able to take every call and process all those folks who are going to our website, who are applying, the thousands and thousands and thousands of them. We're making sure that we're getting the word out also to employers. This is about employees and employers, and we want to make sure that folks understand that there's a lot of cooperation going on right now that I'm pretty proud of between the local communities, those local businesses, the state of Indiana, everything we have to offer, and the federal packages. We're on phase 3 already, and we want to make sure that businesses that have relationships with their local banks understand that their loans are available to keep your employees, to be able to pay your rent or your lease, the payroll, and keep the lights on, keep those employees employed throughout this to get on the other side of this bridge to our recovery. But that folks know that the state's here as well. Fortunately, going into this storm, our state was in a very strong position. And so we've been able to do things that maybe other states might not be able to do, like postpone paying your income taxes or postpone paying your property taxes or ensure that there are no evictions. So once again, I just want to stress that folks know that we're going to be able to respond to Hoosier needs in an equally strong fashion.
Governor, this shock to the system came at a time when Indiana was continuing to put up record economic development numbers in terms of expansions from U.S.-based companies internationally as well. Your office, the Office of the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, Secretary of Commerce Jim Schillinger, you've been in contact with a lot of those companies who have expressed interest in Indiana. What are they saying? What's their message back to you?
Yeah, the message back to us is that we're going to get through this. This is a pandemic. By definition, this is a global crisis. And it's a virus crisis, to be quite frankly, that is impacting our economies around the world, supply chains around the world. They're looking for places on the other side of this for stability and certainty and continuity. That's what our calling cards were going into this storm, and that's what ours will be coming out of it. And so if there's a silver lining to this all, how we conduct ourselves, how we're cooperating to get through this storm in as calm as fashion as we can, that will stand out. They respect the fact, and they're working with us, whether they're international companies that are here already or looking to come here. They respect the fact that we're putting our people first. We're passionate about our people, their teammates, their employees. And so we're dealing with the health and the safety aspects of this. And right at the same time, in the other hand, we've got an eye on the economics of it all, making sure that they understand that there's going to be a good place for them to once again grow their business. But it's going to be done in a very methodical, responsible way. Just as we've escalated different steps, we'll de-escalate to get back to that way of business that we were doing before we came into this storm.
Governor, final question for you. This week, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett, and others came together to announce an initiative, In This Together, IN being Indiana. Let's talk about it. Give me basically the bottom line on what this initiative is all about.
Well, that's what it is. It's our, it's who we are as a people. Not only are we in this together, but we're going to get through this together. And because we're together, we rely on one another. This COVID-19 does not distinguish or discriminate against everyone. It treats everyone equally, and it requires everyone to respond in a similar fashion. That means practice these proven tactics to kill the virus, which is using soap and water religiously, which is making sure that you're creating that responsible social distance between one another. That means self-isolating if you get sick and show the symptoms. That's what's going to draw these numbers down. That's when the wave will recede when we do this. But we got to do it together. We can still stay connected. We can still keep in touch, and we must keep in touch with one another. It's just going to be a little different over the next few weeks ahead.
Yep. Well, certainly Inside Indiana Business, proud to be a part of the In This Together initiative. And Governor Holcomb, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us this week. Stay safe.
Thank you. You as well, Gary.
Meantime, Indiana's unemployment rate doubled within 2 weeks in the wake of the pandemic. More than 120,000 Hoosiers filed for unemployment insurance as of March 28th. So how is the state handling the surge? Indiana Department of Workforce Development Chief of Staff Josh Richardson joined us with more.
This enormous rush of people into the system. Folks wondering, one, in terms of the system itself, the infrastructure, is it built to handle this much influx?
Right. So there are a couple of different components of the infrastructure. One is the IT system, and that's the most important part. In Indiana, we've been taking unemployment claims online now for more than 15 years. And we've upgraded that system a couple of different times. And right now, that IT system seems to be handling the increase in workload really well. We're processing things on time. We can see there's been very little indication that there's been any disruptions in service. The other side of that is more the human side, and that's ability to answer phone lines and respond to people's questions. We're struggling more with that. Again, a few weeks ago, we were staffed to be efficient for record low claims levels, and now we're really on the other side of that. So we're struggling there and working hard to put components in place to be able to answer people's questions. But overall, yes, we're taking the claims.
Same question, though, on the financial side. So many people coming into the system. Is the financial resources, will they be there to pay out all the claims that are going to be coming?
So they will be there. And I think, longtime viewers of your show will remember back around the Great Recession time, the Indiana Unemployment Insurance Trust Fund borrowed money from the federal government in order to pay claims. We passed some major legislation at the state level to try and address that, to fix that fund. And we've been headed in the right direction since 2011. And so just a couple of weeks ago, we were at about $860 million in that fund. This will absolutely stress that fund. But the way that, we're certainly in a better spot than we were a few years ago to be ready for something like this, if you're ever ready for it. And we have a structurally stable fund that's capable, I think, ultimately of digging back out. And the federal government backs that trust fund if it were to run out of money, which it's too early to say that it will, but the money would remain and the ability to provide benefits to Hoosiers would remain.
As we look at so many Hoosiers, tens of thousands without a job now, many for the first time, are there things they should keep in mind in terms of filing for unemployment insurance, just from a procedural standpoint, the things that they need to do, having experienced this for the first time, many of them?
Yeah, and we're absolutely seeing a lot of that. People that have never used the system, or it's been a very long time since they've used the system. And so, one is that they need to know that this is a modernized system. They don't have to go anywhere to do this. They can do it from their home computer or a tablet or a smartphone. Unemployment.in.gov is a website that they can use to find resources that will answer frequently asked questions, to provide information about benefits in general. And also, they can find the link there to file the application. Couple things to remember. Our process takes about 21 days from the time someone's filed before they should expect that first payment. In these high anxiety times, I think we have people finishing that claim and immediately calling, and we're just really struggling to be responsive to that. But it's a system that's set up to serve people. Much of it has been automated. We've learned a lot of lessons, and we're very confident that a high percentage of people will receive that compensation in 21 days or less.
Josh, final question for you, and that's some virtual job fairs. I know DWD is getting involved in putting together these virtual job fairs for folks who are looking for work.
Yeah, and so that's been something that we've been up to, whether it's the economy is roaring strong like it was a few weeks ago, or whether we're being challenged by one of these events. We're always working to try and make sure that we're providing opportunities for Hoosiers to advance their careers and to increase their earnings. And so we actually have webinars that are already scheduled and processed. And we know that employers around the state are still looking now and will soon be looking again as we move on beyond this health situation to hire Hoosiers again. And so the department will be there to do that. And they can also find those resources on our website.
All right. Josh Richardson is the Chief of Staff at the Indiana Department of Workforce Development. Josh, thanks very much for your time and stay safe.
Thanks again for having me.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. The Indianapolis 500 has joined a growing list of major sporting events impacted by COVID-19, with the race moving to August. Other races are being moved around as well. Indianapolis Motor Speedway President Doug Bowles joined Gary with the latest.
Okay, let's talk about the decision. Obviously, a lot went into this. The 2 weeks between the St. Pete situation, no race there, of course, the St. Pete situation and the announcement. What were all talk about what the vibe was like, if you will, and all the considerations that needed to come into play?
Well, certainly we wanted to do everything we could to keep the Indianapolis 500 on its originally scheduled May 24th date. But after St. Pete happened, and as we got back to Indianapolis and we started seeing what was really going on around us, we realized it was going to be a challenge. And when the governor in the state said it's probably appropriate to shelter in place for a little bit of time, we started thinking about how long it takes to prepare for 300,000 people to come to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But the best thing for us to do was to move the Speedway and the Indy 500 to some other date in order to give us time to really prepare properly. So it really came down to the preparation time. I mean, we're still hopeful that by May 24th we can actually get outside again. But for us, we can't pack that preparation time in a small window. So the best thing to do was move it down to August.
And I know one of the challenges in rescheduling was finding 3 weekends basically together with all of the rescheduling going on with other sporting events and television and those types of things.
That was one of the biggest challenges, and we really focused on, we want the Indy 500, wherever we put it, to feel like the Indy 500. So we felt like it needed at least that qualifying weekend and practice leading up to it. ahead of the race weekend itself, which then caused us to look at the IndyCar Grand Prix, the GMR Grand Prix, and where do we put that? And we're actually pretty excited about landing that race right in the middle of our Big Machine Vodka 400 weekend and as a doubleheader on the road course with the Xfinity cars.
Well, we'll talk about that, Doug, because that does really beef up that July 4 weekend at IMS. You see that as a real positive for that weekend to have both the Indy cars and the NASCAR guys out on the track.
Yeah, we're really, really excited about that. There's been a lot of talk the last 18 months about a double with IndyCar and NASCAR on the same weekend at some track around the country. We just didn't know it would be the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So we're really looking forward to that. I know Jay Fry, who has history with NASCAR before he came to IndyCar, is excited about it as well. So I think it's going to be great for our fans. I think the Cup drivers and the IndyCar drivers are going to have a lot of fun that weekend interacting with each other.
Doug, certainly tradition is such an important part of the Indianapolis 500. Obviously, the race is not going to be Memorial Day weekend, shifting to August. Will tradition still be a part of the race experience?
You know, I tell folks my favorite 30 minutes of the year, the 30 minutes leading up to the Indy 500, and I'm certainly not alone. So I think a lot of those traditions will continue. We want people to come to the Indy 500 and feel like it's the Indy 500 that they've fallen in love with and come back to year over year over year. So I think they can count on those traditions they're used to being part of pre-race.
And final question, Roger Penske, the new owner, certainly involved and engaged very much in that decision-making process. And from what I've heard, he obviously wanted to do what's right for the sport, but also what's right for Indianapolis and in the community as well. Did that factor into the decision-making?
100% from the very beginning, when the announcement was made in November to the time that he actually officially took over control of the Speedway in January, he said he wants to be a great corporate citizen in the state of Indiana, and he has proven that as we've gone through this. Many times a day I'm having a conversation with him. Mark Miles on the phone with him quite a bit. He's talked to our mayor. He's talked to our governor. He's really plugged in. He wants this to be the Indiana institution that it is, and he's committed to investing in it to make it the Hoosier racetrack that we all have fallen in love with. So he's going to be a great corporate partner for our community and our state.
All right, we're looking forward to the rescheduled Indianapolis 500 and the Indy Grand Prix as well. Doug Bowles, the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Doug, you're nice to join us. Stay safe.
Thank you.
As restaurants continue to feel the brunt of the outbreak, most have moved to a takeout model for customers. However, one Grant County restaurant is leaning into a throwback strategy. Inside Indiana Business reporter Mary Rachel Redman has more.
In 1965, when we opened, all we had was a little awning up front and a counter that you'd step up to, and you would order your meal and then wait for it to be prepared, and then you'd either enjoy it outside or in your car.
And with social distancing the new norm, Ivanhoe's parking lot looks a lot like it did in 1965.
Thank you.
With customers enjoying a burger and a shake, or in my case, strawberry shortcake, in the comfort of their car.
When this whole thing started that they were going to have to close my dining rooms, I was like, let's not let this be a downer, you know. This is what we were built upon. In 1965, we didn't have dining rooms, and so we decided to make the best out of it.
And customers are responding. So much so, Ivanhoe's had to purchase a second phone line just to accommodate the influx of call-in orders.
Ivanhoe's, how may I help you? You will answer the phone, the other one will ring, and then you might have to tell them to hang on so you can do this order. Then once you get done with that order, the phone's ringing again.
But Sowers is quick to point out that sales are still below where they should be this time of year.
We're down quite a bit from what we should be doing, but for the most part, we're doing good.
Everybody's trying to help everybody right now. And I think people know that, you know, hey, we're open, and I think they're doing it to help us. If people didn't come in, we'd have to shut our doors. And I think a lot of people know that. And I think they come in because, like I said, it gives you a feeling of something's a little normal. I can still go to Ivanhoe's, I can still get my ice cream, I can still get my tenderloin. It doesn't make you feel like there's this weird pandemic going on. It's just a little breath of fresh air, I think, to everybody when they get to come in and they're like, hey, I can still go to Ivanhoe's and get my ice cream or my shortcake.
Mary Rachel Redman, Inside Indiana Business.
In addition to the public health concerns, the coronavirus pandemic is also putting a lot of financial stress on Hoosiers. What should you be doing to try to weather the storm? Financial planning expert Peter Dunn joined us with perspective.
To kind of tee things up, these numbers are so striking. The unemployment claims number that came out just a few days ago, just hard to kind of get your arms around. What has that done, in your view, to folks as they look and think about their personal financial health?
Well, I think everyone's juggling three big concerns right now. The virus itself, which you and I probably shouldn't weigh in on. We're not scientists.
Right.
Then there's the market, which is scaring the bejesus out of everybody, no matter where you are in life. Then there's the economy, which is our day-to-day reality. And I think what these unemployment numbers are doing is that they're making this feel visceral. They're saying, hey, look, my neighbor lost his job. My dad lost it. These sorts of things are what people worry about. And Gary, it conflicts with their view of the market. They watch the stock market, they see it go up, and they think we're fine, and then they see these numbers and they freak out. Yeah.
What should folks be thinking about? Because, again, these are unprecedented times, but you've got, several factors going on there. You've got people who are out of work facing bills, facing mortgages, utility bills, all these things that come due every month. They're thinking about, do we save? Do we pull money out? What from just kind of a basic planning mode, what should they be thinking about?
When up is down and down is up, you know you're in trouble, because I'm telling people, don't worry about getting out of debt right now. You should not be paying off debt. You should be paying the minimum payment and carrying your debt. We want to make sure that food is going on the table, and if you can pay your mortgage, pay your mortgage. If you're struggling, if you're unemployed, because Gary, again, it's not the low-wage jobs that are just unemployed. I've talked to people all week. Their six-figure jobs are gone. So if people have an FHA loan or any federally backed loan, they can get relief for a year. People have student loan relief options. They need to take advantage of those too. And those stimulus checks, if people qualify, those will come in handy. But it is financial planning, I'd say 101, but it's like 10,001, because no one's really ever dealt with something like this.
Yeah, so probably the same thought process when you talk about investments, either ongoing, personal savings, investing, or retirement accounts. And obviously it depends on what age bracket you're in, but those things kind of fly out the window as well, I guess.
People are thanking their lucky stars that they have a relationship with a good investment advisor right now. Most good investment advisors are telling their people just to not look at their statements, not look at the news, and don't make a move. But there are people that are going to be forced to draw out of their retirement accounts. And we just hope that if that's the case, it is the last thing they do before they break the glass for the emergency.
Pete, what about the impact, and there will be impact, on state and local government in this crisis?
It's probably not fair for me to say what I worry about the most, especially when I'm putting the needs of citizens below what I'm about to say. But I really worry about state and local government, because that is what provides all these services to people. And so I'm very concerned. I'm concerned about 2021, 2022 when it comes to safety and schools and roads and social programs. I think Indiana is as well positioned as any state in the nation to deal with this rainy day. But those funds are going to dry up in a couple months because the problem is so big, and there will be implications to that.
Yeah, you make a great point on the fiscal health of the state. And finally, employers of all sizes, but especially small businesses, and so many around the state are facing big decisions on employees and how to work through this. Things that employers should be thinking from a business and kind of a financial standpoint.
I think small business owners are just people too, and they're very scared. And I think the best thing they can do is to communicate honestly and calmly with their employees and set reasonable expectations. Gary, something I've seen that worries me is a lack of transparency with financial health of an organization because someone is scared. I think you've got to allow someone to make plans in the event that the business doesn't last. And I think when we go on our comeback, because our comeback's coming, buddy, when we get to our comeback here, I think you're going to see some different trends in the workplace. I think you're going to see different types of benefits and different types of wages.
That's a great perspective, as always, from Pete the Planner. Pete, thanks for joining us. I hope to have you on again through this process, and stay safe out there, my friend.
Well, normally around this time of year, Hoosiers would be wrapping up March Madness and looking forward to the NBA playoffs and the Masters. Obviously, this is anything but a normal sports year. Inside Indiana Business Sports contributor Bill Benner joins us to talk about the impact of the coronavirus on Indiana sports.
Lots we can talk about here, but first of all, kind of some breaking news this week from the NCAA, which, the basketball tournament, certainly a massive revenue generator for schools and conferences around the country. The NCAA announced it had projected doling out $600 million to schools and conferences. That number cut all the way down to $225 million, substantial cut. The big schools perhaps can weather it, but a number of the smaller schools may be in a bit of a pickle.
Well, and again, some people forget that the NCAA is more than 1,000 member institutions through 3 divisions. In particular, I spoke with my friend and my former boss at the Horizon League, John LaCrone, the commissioner, this past week, and they're in a real quandary as to how to pay the bills with the cuts that are coming. And compounding the situation is the checks that are normally sent out to the conferences and member institutions in April are being delayed until June. And so John said he talked with his athletic directors the other day, and they have bills coming due. They're discussing staff reductions. They're certainly not taking on any capital projects, and everything is on a hold. The good news is, the bad news is there's no spring sports. The good news is there are no spring sports as they wait out this time until hopefully they get some revenue from the NCAA in June.
Certainly a number of events here in Indianapolis, a jolt to the economy in a negative way. No NCAA regional this year and some other events as well. So it's from an events standpoint, which Indianapolis has built its reputation on, tough news as well.
Well, yeah, and again, it was a blow to everybody. The suddenness with which it all happened was, it was staggering. But yeah, we're a sports-centric city, and that's how Indianapolis has built its reputation. The good news is, if and when we get back to normal, we have a great lineup of events with the NBA All-Star, a Final Four next year, and then going on with the college football playoff in 2021. We picked up an NCAA regional from Cincinnati 2 years down the road, so there's still a very ambitious lineup of events, but we got to get there, and still a lot of uncertainty. But yeah. We are Indianapolis. This is what we do. We do sports. We do big-time events. We do them right. And this has been a tough time. Yep.
And we talk about athletes, Bill, especially Olympic athletes. The situation for them is doubly tough, right?
Well, Lily King comes to mind. Olympic athletes, most of them, the vast majority, don't exist on guaranteed contracts. Mm-hmm. And so the Olympics, they're every 4 years, that's their time, A, to shine, and B, to cash in on their talent. And so to have to delay that for a year, have to continue that arduous training for another year is really tough on those athletes. And again, we all understand what has happened with the Tokyo Olympics and the right decision to postpone those games. That really creates a hardship on those athletes.
Run out of time, Bill. Obviously, the Indianapolis 500 being delayed until August. We'll keep an eye on that as well. Bill, thanks for some great perspective as always, and be safe, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. You be safe as well. Thank you.
Isolation and uncertainty can take a major toll on mental health. As is so often the case, our pets can be the key to feeling better. Kylie Valletta has more in the business of health.
Yeah, I landed the tough assignment today. I'm outside hanging out with my dog. So this is Murphy, and he's our family dog, of course, and he's kind of been helping us cope the last couple of weeks as we've all been trapped together and trapped inside. But I talked to Dr. Maggie O'Hare. She's an associate professor of human-animal interaction at Purdue. She says this feeling of our pets helping us, it's really not just a feeling, it's something that can be measured biologically.
What science from the field of human-animal interaction shows is that pets can actually be a unique source of social support during stressful situations. For example, studies have found that people perceive their pets as distinctive sources of social support at similar levels to what we see from significant others, family, and friends. People rate them similarly. People who have, for example, a service dog have measurably better social and emotional health. So the companionship that animals can provide is something that we can measure scientifically. And one of the things I think people are interested in is how we can measure that biologically or physiologically. And so what we see is that in stressful situations, if there's an animal there, people show what we might call a muted stress response. So they're having a lower heart rate or blood pressure, or their cortisol levels, which is a stress hormone, are lower when the animal is there.
So we've been talking about how dogs help us during social distancing. Is there any benefit in the other situation a lot of people are finding themselves in, which is working from home?
I think that's an interesting question about the effects on working from home and that companionship. I certainly think that it's creating social support. I've definitely, seen and heard stories of, animals showing up in your web conference and how that can bring joy to the rest of the group on the call. We certainly do have data about just the simple effects of looking at animals can create positive changes in mood.
So what can we do at home if we have a pet to really take full advantage of that right now when we all are feeling pretty isolated?
One of the best ways to take advantage of the situation if you do have a companion animal is to cherish that and be mindful about it. So take your dog for a walk, pet your cat, watch the silly things they do, and let that bring some joy and humor to your life. I think that if we're mindful about this time, we can create a space that's really quite positive for the animal and for us in terms of that relationship.
Big picture, we know that our pets just help us feel better. What's the importance of generating actual scientific data to support that?
I think there are a few reasons why it's important to have scientific data to look at animals and human interaction. My lab does a lot of research on special areas and special populations. So, for example, therapy dogs in hospitals or service animals for those who have a psychiatric or physical disability. And the reason we need research for those special populations is because it takes science to allow those things to happen. So, for example, in hospitals, they don't just let anyone through the doors. They have to make decisions based on science. And if you can't scientifically demonstrate that a dog needs to be in a hospital, he's not going to be allowed in. So, and the same kind of goes for the service animals. If you can't demonstrate through science that a service dog is beneficial, there will be no funding for that service dog. And we know there are really long wait lists. Some places, on average, you'll wait 2 years to get a service dog. And if we don't have science behind it, those lists will remain long because the funding just won't be there.
And Gary, you may have seen the national story. I was coming out of New York that shelters near and around that city ran out of animals or were close to running out of animals because so many people adopted them. I talked to Indy Humane. They said when they issued a plea for more fostering due to COVID, they had 200 new families sign up to foster, and that was a huge increase for them. So people are just recognizing right now that these four-legged guys kind of help us feel better during this time. Back to you.
Absolutely. Great report, Kylie. Also, quickly, you've been following Indiana companies, large and small, and what they're doing to step up and help during the crisis. One of them, Eli Lilly and Company, and I know this week Lilly announced they're continuing and actually expanding their drive-through testing.
Right. They are expanding it. So now they are testing people who are showing symptoms of COVID-19, 65 years old and older. Also, if you're under 65 and you have symptoms of COVID-19 and a serious underlying issue. And then also workers and businesses deemed essential by the state who have regular public contact as part of their job. They're also testing those people now. And of course, all of those free of charge. You still do need a physician's written order, though, to go do that.
And finally this week, we spotlight two Hoosier nonprofit efforts. We start with Holster, an Indianapolis-based mulch delivery service. Each order supports a local nonprofit as well as the veterans and first responders who drive for the company. Co-founder Travis Tetrolt details his company's mission.
Mulch for good. I've also heard this described as kind of the Uber for mulch. Talk about the concept here, but first of all, how it all started. How did it come about?
Basically, the reason that it started in the first place is with a concept that simplified a couple of different things. One was mulch, and two was fundraising. We all have kids and we're parents in the local community, and we were just trying to find a simple solution to help out the nonprofits in the area without taxing their resources by adding on additional needs for sales and additional needs for their labor. So we all need mulch, so we figured out the best way to help out would be to give mulch at the same time by being able to give back with each yard of mulch sold.
Yep. Well, I look at the mulch industry, if you will, as very low tech, but you're using high tech. You're using technology really to make this business model work, right?
Sure. The biggest concept that we found that would help out would be to, like you said, bring a little bit more technology to the industry by allowing our drivers, for one reason, be able to choose jobs that they would like to deliver. And then every single order that comes through our site gives money directly back to them, while our drivers can at the same time go in, choose the orders they want to deliver, and perform.
And really, as you and I were talking before we started the interview, the mulch business, if you will, or mulch yards aren't really set up, aren't really geared to consumers, to moms and pops and those daily consumers who might come there.
Right, that's correct. The mulch yards get so busy during this spring season that it's very difficult for a single homeowner to go in and do any type of conversation with them. They just don't have the time or the resources, the same way the non-for-profits don't have that same amount of time. So for us to be able to explain it online, show them how to order their material without ever having to walk into there, and then to have it delivered, saves them on time and convenience and gets the mulch to their yard a lot faster so they can start spreading it and enjoying their yard.
Very good. As we wrap up, I know you mentioned all this, but it's a key point, and that's giving back, and that's giving to nonprofits. You're talking about giving a percentage of revenues. I think it's not profits, but it's revenues you're going to target to nonprofits in the central Indiana area.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So every order that we do, $5 goes directly back to each non-for-profit per yard. So basically every delivery is about 7 yards of mulch, so about $35 per delivery goes back to a non-for-profit. It's just money that comes straight from Holster's bottom line. And we feel that we always want to start a company that was giving back, and we felt this was a great opportunity.
Travis Tetrault, the co-founder of Holster, Mulch for Good, if you will, mulch on demand. Interesting business concept. Travis, good luck to you going forward with the company, and stay safe.
And we wrap up with Concerts for a Cause. The organization holds quarterly concerts to help raise money for Indiana nonprofits. But like just about every other Hoosier business and organization, it has had to pivot and come up with a new way of doing business. Co-founder Bruce Kidd joined us to talk about what he calls carry-out concerts.
First of all, Concerts for a Cause, something that you and others have been very passionate about over the last 4 years, has raised a lot of money for nonprofits in the area. Give us a quick thumbnail on Concerts for a Cause and what that is all about.
Yeah, thank you. We've started in January of 2016. We've held 15 concerts so far, and we've donated $230,000 to 15 different local not-for-profits that are probably impacting the lives of several thousand kids, adults, and families in need. And that was really the objective. That's what we wanted to do, give back to the community and help those that are less fortunate and dealing with difficulties in their lives. And the quarterly concerts have grown from 100 people back in 2016 might show up. Now we're getting close to 400 at our concerts. And until this unfortunate circumstance with the COVID situation, we had a great year lined up this year, and we'll just postpone it until we can all go back out in public again, and we'll keep hosting them starting in hopefully June.
Well, like any good business or organization, you are pivoting on the fly to carry out concerts. Tell us what that is all about. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, our board just decided we couldn't go 2 or 3 months, or hopefully not more, and not provide some quality entertainment to all the big supporters we've had over the last 4 years. Like them, we're all holed up in our homes and isolated from our friends and family and coworkers. And so we just decided to reach out to some of the local artists that have played for us in the past and see if they'd like to be a part of this new concert series called Carry Out Concerts, where people are carrying out food and other goods to their homes to try and support our local retailers. We just decided we'd provide some food for their soul, as I call music, because that's what it is for me. It's a necessary component of my life every day. And so the carry-out concerts are delivering live music directly into their family rooms every Tuesday and Thursday with local artists. And we've done 2 so far, and they've gone really well and had a nice audience at both of them. And we expect it to grow as more people find out about it. And they're free, and you just log in and enjoy a break from the isolation blues for 30 minutes or 45 minutes.
Only have 30 seconds, Bruce, but this is giving you a chance really to expand and to do a lot more concerts, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're able to touch a lot more people this way. We're able to give back to the community. They're not fundraisers. We're not trying to raise money this time. We'll get back to that in the spring or the late spring or summer with our traditional concerts. This is just a way to to try and give people some joy and happiness and some entertainment while they're sitting at home. And, you can only watch so much rerun TV. So every Tuesday and Thursday night from 7 to 7:30, we've got some live entertainment directly from the artists who are playing homes into your home. And it's been a lot of fun. Been very interesting to see the response.
Very good, Bruce. Bruce Kidd, co-founder of Concerts for a Cause. Carry out concerts. Bruce, thanks for joining us and good luck.
My pleasure. Thank you, Gary.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.